Hey folks, welcome to this week's edition of Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain, and I want to thank you all for tuning in tonight. We've got some great guests coming up here, and we've been asking the general viewers what you all want to see, and the feedback I've been getting is I want to see just average, everyday hunters. So that's what we brought in today. We have Dennis Moore here. Dennis, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tom.
Now, Dennis is just an avid outdoorsman. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, when you started hunting and, what got you into it?
Well, I've been hunting for a good while. My dad had me in the outdoors from, 5 years old, tagging along. Shot my first deer when I was 10 and have been hooked ever since then.
Now, how old were you when your first deer you got? You said you were 10 years old, right?
Yes, 10 years old.
Now, was it a gun hunt?
I was gun hunting. It was a youth weekend here in Kentucky.
Now, at 10 years old, it's when my dad started taking me out in the woods also. And at what point do you feel like, okay, I'm hooked?
Probably before I was even 10. Just like I said, I was tagging along with Dad, rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting. Anytime in the outdoors, I was hooked. So
now, when you went rabbit hunting with Dad, did he use you as a dog?
Unfortunately, no. I wasn't that quick. I was short enough, but I wasn't quick enough to run. So.
I can remember my dad used to make me, hey, go beat that brush over there. Go beat that brush over there.
I couldn't keep up with him.
So, what is your passion? I know. Do you get into the preseason with all the cameras and the food plots, or is it actually sitting in the stand seeing the animals come in? What really gets your juices flowing?
It's a year-round pursuit. From when this season ends, I'm already thinking about next year.
Right.
Turkey season, deer season. It's a year-round. Food plots, minerals, the whole process of the outdoors. I mean, even fishing. I'm a fisherman too, so. Everything about the outdoors, bow hunting, gun hunting, it's all fun. 3D shoots, I do that too. So.
Yeah, and see, folks, it's not just people that have TV shows. The average hunter does the same thing that we do for the TV show, that puts in the work because you want your hard work to pay off,
That's
just
right.
like we want our hard work to pay off. And to grow good deer, you have to manage good deer, and you got to do that year round.
That's right.
What kind of food plots do you all put out?
Well, this year I wasn't as successful with my food plots because all the rain come in, and some of my food plots are in a harder area to get to. So when that rain did come in, I wasn't able to get to it. They got overcome with weeds. So a lot of the beans, turnips, clovers, and radish is my main source of food plots.
Now, when you get into game cameras, do you use them quite often, and how much do you rely on them?
This particular hunt this year, you guys will see here shortly, was the main factor of killing this deer. I watched this deer early on in September, and I was checking my camera once a week, if not twice a week, and patterning this deer. So I would say trail camera was the biggest factor into all of this.
As a hunter, sometimes I think we can put in too much emphasis on a camera, because I have been in my stand and I have seen really, really quality deer, and I've seen them stay behind the camera, never get a picture of them, and if I wasn't in that stand, I never would have saw that deer. I never would have knew that deer was on my farm, because in my opinion, these older deer, they're smart.
Yeah.
They understand how this whole process works, and they don't want to be on camera as much as possible. And there's been deer that I've seen strictly at night, and then somebody else will, hey, can I hunt your stand? Well, yeah, sure. And they see it during the daylight, but those deer don't always get in front of that camera.
Yeah.
So it's a good judge, but it's not the Bible, in my opinion.
That's right.
Now, you've seen this deer during night and then a couple day pictures, right?
The majority of these pictures were at night, especially starting in September. He was cruising through. As you
can see there, it's a really, really quality deer.
Yes.
And what did you all think? He's probably 3.5 years old?
I'm guessing 3.5, yes.
That is a really nice Kentucky whitetail. Now, what county did you harvest this in?
This is in Spencer County, Taylorsville.
Now, on the WMA or private land?
This is private land, yes.
So you had been getting some night pictures of him, and then all of a sudden you started getting a few day pictures.
I got one good daylight picture, which was October 1st, which I was at my little girl's pageant, beauty pageant, so I wasn't in the stand. But that October 1st was my first daylight picture, and then October come around, October low, deer start thinning out. You don't get as many trail cam pictures.
I hate that.
I just didn't even hunt. I knew to stay out of the area. I didn't hunt. I was out of the spot for about 2 weeks. Didn't even go in. So like I said, I kept watching these cameras, and the October 1st was the first daylight sighting. It was before a huge cold front. The temperature dropped 20, 30 degrees, and that was the first pictures I got. The second pictures was mid-October. I think it was October 17th was my second daylight pictures of this deer. He come through, again, right before a huge cold front. Now, 2 daylight pictures of this deer. Now I'm starting to put the puzzles together. It's right before a huge cold front, and now I'm figuring out where he's coming from. So both, you see in these pictures, he's both coming from the left, which if you're sitting in there, there's a huge thicket right in front of us. So now I know he's coming from this thicket and coming over to my spot.
Right. And that's what you got to do. I mean, that October lull we all talk about is the hunter's worst enemy, because
yes, absolutely.
You're really wanting to be in the woods as much as possible, but the deer have thinned out. You're not seeing them. If they are, they're all at night. Don't really know what causes that.
Yeah.
But it's that time of year that everybody hates.
Yes.
And
definitely.
It always seems to be, you know, fairly shortly before the rut when you stop seeing them, and all of a sudden, bam, they start popping up.
Yes.
Now, when you seen this deer, was he on any does? Was he starting to do a little pre-rut, a little grunt? Did you hear anything?
The day, the evening that I harvest, he wasn't in particular on a doe, even though there was a lot of does around us, so I couldn't, he could be. There was a young buck before this deer come in who was grunting in this thicket. I could hear him chasing, grunting. I actually called him over to where I was at, but he left shortly after.
As you can see the video here, Dennis was doing some self-filming for his own personal use, and actually he's been nice enough to give Lights Out Outdoors the okay to use it on the Pursuit channel next year. So we're real happy for that, and we'll be glad to show Dennis off on our channel next year and show this nice little deer here. Before we get into the actual kill here, we'll be taking a short break here in a second. When we come back, we'll talk about what your thought process was when this deer was coming in. You know, when you're bow hunting, you got to make sure everything's right.
There's a lot of complications that go wrong.
You know, I guess that's why it's probably more gun hunters than there is bow hunters, because there's a lot more things can go wrong.
That's right.
But folks, stay tuned. We'll be back after this break, and we'll see Dennis finish his deer off. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain, and we have Dennis Moore here with us, an avid outdoorsman from Taylorsville, Kentucky. And before we went to break, we were talking about this really nice 8-pointer that was coming into you, and how hard the work it is putting into it preseason for this to pay off during the season.
Yes, absolutely.
And you had gone through and put some food plots out, and some of them had success, some of them didn't. As you can see in some of that video, you were putting corn out regular, which is a great thing Kentucky allows us to do. A lot of states doesn't allow any type of baiting. We're very fortunate that Kentucky allows us to do that. And then you had to be getting several night pictures, and all of a sudden, bam, here comes a couple of daylight pictures.
October shows up, and he starts popping up in daylight.
And it's, as you can see here in the video, you had some does out there with you, and you can see that cedar thicket there that he's popping out of. Now, are you in a blind of some sort of raised blind? I'm
in an elevated box. It's not a box blind. It's kind of a 4x4 post tower. It's hand-built wooden. And I stuck a Ameristep ground blind on top of it.
Okay, so you built a platform and then fastened the Ameristep on top of it?
Yes, 12 foot up.
12 foot up.
12
wow,
foot
that's
up,
a pretty good one up there then for a ground blind.
Yeah.
Just make sure you watch your step. So you can see it's really nice. And what did y'all name this deer?
I named him Thorn. As you can see right here, on his left brow tine, he's got just a little hook over there. You know, it resembles a thorn, and that's how I got that name. It's a thorn. That's what I called him. And
he's got a nice little crab claw up there on the left-hand side also. Now he come in. He had no idea you were even there, did he?
No, the wind was out of the south, which was the only wind that I could hunt. And during the October low, like I mentioned earlier, I stayed out. The wind wasn't right, so it would only come into this spot with the south wind.
And I really feel like it's where a lot of hunters mess up. They don't use the wind. You've got to play that wind. You got to hunt stands that are only good for that wind. People feel like, well, I took a bath and scent suppressant. Well, that doesn't always work. You've got to use that wind to your advantage.
That's right.
And if it means not hunting that stand, it means not hunting that stand. Because all you're going to do is educate that deer.
Yes.
And as soon as you educate that deer's already smart. He don't need any more school.
Oh, yeah.
And when he starts smelling things that knows aren't there, you'll lose him every time. Now this shot here, was you at this time, were you already at full draw?
Not yet. I was almost at full draw. I was, like I said, I was working the camera and trying to get situated with the bow also.
It's tough self-filming, isn't it?
Right about now is when I come to full draw. So unfortunately I'm stuck, but I can't switch the camera around. So you can kind of see the arrow pass through across the screen. And there you go. Grab the camera, got a good shot running away.
I can see the lumen just pop out.
And he's gone.
Did you have a red lumen lock there?
No, I did not. I'm not really sure what that of.
Looked like a red bright.
It might have been off the camera,
okay,
reflecting off the ground of the blind.
I tell you what, that is a quality deer. How far did he run after you shot him?
The majority of that was downhill, but I'd say he probably went 70 or 80 yards.
Really?
Like I said, but you can see in the film, majority is straight down. It's a very steep hill, which is another reason I had the elevated blind, is because once you get past a certain point on this hill, the wind never changes.
Gotcha.
So I had to be at least halfway up in order to get a somewhat consistent wind at some point. So.
And you know, those deer are coming up, if you're on the ground, when they come up, they're almost dead eye with you at that point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even with that elevated, they're still pretty close to.
Are they really?
Yeah. It's a slight tapering hill, yeah.
And have you been seeing other quality deer in that area?
That's the biggest one I have on camera. Not saying there's not there, like
sure.
you mentioned. There was several young 2-year-olds. I'm talking 5 or 6 more that next year could reach this potential also, in my opinion.
And that's the key is, you know, to do all your management properly, you also have to pass on the small bucks. Mm-hmm. And that's part of being a good steward of the outdoors, mm-hmm. is letting these deer get a little more age on them, a little more comfortable around the surroundings, mm-hmm. and just grow them. You know, that's the key. You know, as we'll see later on in our next guest coming up, Austin. He's killed a dandy this year, but he really manages hard his deer. Mm-hmm. And we need more people in the outdoors like that. We need to have the Orange Army stop shooting all these 1.5 and 2-year-old bucks that are just out cruising. And I understand you want deer meat, and everybody wants deer meat. We all love it, but there's ample enough does out there to handle that.
I'm still eating on that summer sausage from my first doe this year.
You know, my son just killed a doe, his first bow kill, a couple weeks ago, mm-hmm. week and a half ago, and we dropped it off and had summer sausage and just got it back, and he's been wearing it out ever since.
Oh,
so.
it's crazy good.
Now, what do you think this deer is going to score?
My hopes is probably low 140s. Everyone else seemed to tell me it might go a little higher. Mm-hmm. Realistically, I'm thinking low 140s is what I'm thinking. He's a mainframe 8 with just those 2 little kickers on out in the front. Yeah. So I'm saying 140s. And you know, it doesn't really matter what he scored. He's a trophy. Oh, he's a huge deer to me. He's a very good deer, and you know, if you're happy with him, that's all that matters. Oh, yeah. I would have shot that deer and not ever thought twice about that deer. And most people would, you know. Yeah. And that's why we kind of on this show here, you know, we want to bring on the guys that just strictly hunt, that aren't looking to, you know, they're not promoting a TV show or whatever they're doing, because there's guys out there that are just like you, but they're doing the same thing I'm doing. Mm-hmm. You know, managing your deer, making sure they're right. You know, minerals are very important early in the year, make sure they're having that growth they're needing when they're in velvet. And now, are you a big mineral guy? I do. I put a lot of minerals out also, springtime. What kind of minerals do you typically use? Homemade. Google will teach you a lot of things these days, so they will. I mix my own stuff together. Well, that's wonderful. Now, are you still in pursuit of any does? Oh yeah, I bought 2 bonus tags last weekend, and I got 2 more to fill. I did actually miss a doe last weekend with my bow, so I still got 2 more doe tags. So you missed one? Unfortunately. It happens, man. We've all done that. She got me. I tell you what, the hardest deer to kill are those 3.5, 4-year-old does. Mm-hmm. They're smarter than any buck I ever seen in my life. Yeah, they picked me off pretty quick, she was a bigger doe, and she knew where I was at coming in. So that I had a limb in the way, and that's not going to be my excuse, but I had to duck that limb just a little bit, and I made a poor shot, didn't miss, draw it clean. So. Same stand? No, this is my family farm in closer to Mammoth Cave. Okay. Yeah. Hart County area. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I tell you what, Dennis, I really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about that quality deer you shot, and you know, you did a wonderful job. You did a great job on the film, and Lights Out Outdoors is very pleased to show that on our episode coming up this year on Pursuit Channel.
and we'll be bringing you back on our TV show to actually talk a little bit more about this deer.
Awesome.
And I really can't wait to see what our editor does with this episode, to how he puts his little touches on it.
Should be fun.
It's going to be a blast, and we'll bring you on, and we'll talk about it, and we'll have a good time.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Man, I appreciate you coming on tonight.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Thank you very much. Folks, when we come back, we're going to have Austin. He's going to talk a little bit about a fairly good-sized deer he killed. I mean, I've seen bigger, but we'll show you some pictures of it, and we'll talk a little more, so stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. With us here, we got a special guest, Austin Musselman. Pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Now, Austin is the vice chair of the Sportsman Alliance. Now, explain to the viewers at home what the Sportsman Alliance does.
Well, Sportsman's Alliance is a 501c3 and a C4. It does a lot of legal work to combat a lot of the anti-hunting movement, namely promoted by the Humane Society of the U.S., which has a huge budget, as you know. So it's like a David and Goliath situation trying to fight this giant which wants to shut down our sport altogether.
You're right. Now, people, when you see these people, they're always giving money to the Humane Society. The misconception is when you donate this money, that this money is going to your local shelters, to, maybe fix dogs and cats and shots, but a lot of that money really goes to trying to stop hunting across the U.S.
Not just hunting, farming, all kinds of things that are related to animals, but in their promotions, they mislead people greatly. So, and
that's really a disservice, because you see people driving around with the license plates of the Humane Society on there, and a portion of that proceeds, I found out, does go towards what they do to stop us from doing what we love to do.
Right, yeah.
And that's why I encourage everybody to buy the League of Kentucky Sportsman plates. That money is strictly going into fighting places like the Humane Society. Now, other than fighting the ongoing battle, it's hard to win, what else does the Alliance do?
Well, like a lot of sportsmen's groups, we have programs for youth. We have a program called Trailblazers, which we partnered with Cabela's to do days where you get young people out shooting bows, BB guns, educate them about the outdoors. And we're developing a new program. We're going to partner with the Boys and Girls Clubs to try to make longer connections with the youth, so it's not just a one-day experience.
And that's really, really good. Now, the Sportsman Alliance is a national company.
It is. It's based out of Columbus, Ohio, but we've taken on issues all over the country. Just took on an issue with the Maine bear hunt. We're opening an office in California because that's where a lot of things start and move across the country. So.
Now, are there chapters throughout the United States?
We don't have chapters, but we just look for support through our organization and just go to where the greatest need is. So.
Now, if somebody at home's watching this and they finally see the truth about what the Humane Society does, how can they get on board and help the Sportsman Alliance?
Well, they, friend us on Facebook, learn more about the organization. Their website's great. Join the organization would be the best thing to do, and keep an eye out in your community if there's issues arise in your state, to let the Sportsman's Alliance know. So,
it's a shame that we have to have all these organizations, from QDMA, Sportsman Alliance, League of Kentucky Sportsmen, to help fight these people. It's an ongoing battle every year. Now, I know y'all were big up there in Maine, and we just got back from Maine from a bear hunt. So if it wasn't for you all shutting that down, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to go up there and do what we did.
Right.
And we had a ball. It was fun. Got to take my son and my father, and those are mememories you're never going to forget.
Right.
And their goal is to stop those memories.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm not much on that. Now, you do other things besides the Sportsman's Alliance. You're also a hunter.
Yes, yeah, I've been since I was a little kid. Grew up like a lot of us, hunting with my dad. Just love being outdoors in nature. Walking in creeks and flipping rocks and all that stuff. And
you're big on conservation and management, and so I'm assuming you do a lot of year-round process too.
We do. It's a year-round pursuit for us, like the other guys here have said. we plant a lot of food plots. We also are just incorporating our farming practices into our hunting program. But we're shed hunting, we're doing timber stand improvement. Things go on all year that we do.
Now we're seeing a picture here of a really nice turkey. Now who's that young man with you?
That's my son, Ford. He's 9 years old, and that was his first turkey he got this year, and it was a great day.
Man, I tell you what, there's no better feeling, is there?
Oh, it's the best thing. I love hunting with kids, and just to see their expression and see them and enjoying the outdoors, and he's hooked for life already. So.
And my dad always told me when I was with him when I killed my first deer how pleasurable it was for him.
Mm-hmm.
When I was with my son killing his first turkey and his first deer, now his first bear,
right.
that feeling is amazing. I don't even care if I ever killed an animal again.
It is.
Just being with my kids and having them do that and see the joy in their face and the satisfaction they get.
Right, right, and they get to see the whole process,
Right.
being, from seeing other things in nature out there, not just the game animals. So.
I love to see kids out there instead of on Xboxes or doing every other thing in the world besides being in the outdoors.
Yes.
It will keep you out of trouble.
Right.
And it will teach you a lot of valuable lessons in life.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm very thankful for my father showing me that way.
Right.
Because who knows what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love hunting. I'm ate up with hunting. Sometimes my wife says I do too much of it. But I think we're all in that situation at some point. Now, from my understanding, you killed a so-so deer this year.
We did. Well, I say we because I had a lot of friends that I hunt with that helped me out in the process. But this was a deer we had seen for several years.
Look at this. Is a stud. And you're going to be on the cover of North American Whitetail coming out.
Yes, that'll be the December issue. And it was a 5.5-year-old deer. And I'd actually seen the deer once last year, and I was hunting another deer that was 4.5, and he was all busted up, but he was still kind of non-typical last year. But I decided to let him walk, and my buddies ribbed me pretty hard. But seeing what he came back as, they're not ribbing me as hard as anymore.
And people, the first questions I'm going to get when people see that deer had to be a high fence deer.
Right.
Now, I'm sure you may have even heard this on yourself.
Sure.
But let me tell you, that is a true testament of what happens when you manage your property.
Right.
You manage your bucks. You manage your does. It's just as important as doing anything else.
Right.
And you do all the proper things it takes. That's the deer you grow. Now, you may not get, what did score?
267 is what we've green scored at gross twice, and we think it's going to net about 251. So.
Now, folks at home, you're not always going to, you do all the proper things, you're not always going to get 260-inch deer. They're not always out there. But I'm sure on your farms, you're also seeing good quality 150, 160, 170-inch deer.
We do. I mean, usually a couple year, but they're not behind every tree, that's for sure. And usually when we see a 3-year-old deer, that's the ones that when they show some characteristics, they'll make a jump from 3 to 4, and those are the ones you got to hold on to. And
people have a tendency of shooting those 2.5-year-old deer, and if they just let them grow, one more year, 3.5, 4.5, in this case 5
right.
or better, the quality of deer really jump. Folks, these deer in this state are phenomenal. People come from all over the world that want to hunt Kentucky, and there's a reason why. Because we manage our deer properly, Fish and Wildlife does a great job. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Austin about this monster deer and being on the cover of the North American Whitetail.
All right,
stay tuned.
Good.
Hey folks, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. We have Austin with us, and we've talked a little bit about the Sportsman Alliance and what a good organization they are to keep our hunting rights going across the U.S., not just here in Kentucky. So make sure you check out their Facebook page, make sure you check out their website, and become a member of the Alliance. Help them out, help them fight the calls, like you said, David and Goliath, and David Quinn. And so far we have been.
Right, yeah.
We're still able to enjoy what we love to do is hunt in this country. Now, we just showed you a picture of the North American Whitetail cover for December of this year coming out. And if you look at this deer here, that is one massive deer, 100% free-ranged managed deer, no fences, no outfitter. He just raised these deers. He really manages it really hard. Really big on habitat. conservation, management, and let those small bucks pass. You may not grow this one, but you're going to grow quality deer, and that's what it takes here to do this. Now, I'm assuming whitetail, North American Whitetail contacted you for this.
They did. You know, they heard about the deer and they were interested in it and featuring it on the cover. You know, we captured the whole hunt on video.
That's
we
amazing.
were hunting in a redneck roll bale blind. The deer was coming out. We started getting pictures of them in June. We started our camera work on our mineral licks, and so we came up with a strategy. We made a Google Earth map, put together all the data on the deer, where we'd found his sheds, where we'd ever gotten pictures of them,
bedding areas,
right. And so we opted to, we'd get him in the middle of this field, but we didn't know how he was showing up. So, you know, for the early season, we would just stay out in the middle of the field, and we put other roll bales of natural hay around it. Even created a line going out the field to sneak in and out. So
nice. So you put a lot of thought process in there, a lot of research, and you have to on deer like these.
Yes.
This deer didn't get this big and this old for being stupid.
Right, definitely.
So you had to do a lot of research, a lot of homework, and Google Maps is a great tool to use to see, you know, bedding areas and, you know, hardwoods. And how big of a farm is this on that he was on?
It's about 400-acre farm where it's at, and you know, but I tend to hunt this one area I like to hunt, and I hunted it about 30 days last year and only saw that deer in there once, even though it was his core area. So
and that just tells you how smart these deer are. And so what was it like when they came and interviewed you? Was that, I'm sure it was very exciting to know this was going to be on the cover of a national magazine that everybody's going to see.
Well, I just I wrote an article and submitted it to them with the pictures, and so you know, I had a friend of mine do a little bit of editing on it. So they, you know, just said send in 2,000 words, and that's what we did. So
wow, that is impressive. And you know, there's been a lot of big deer on the cover of that magazine throughout the year, and it's a great magazine. And but that was probably going to be one of their biggest free-range Kentucky bucks that ever been on that magazine.
It probably will be, but we're seeing a lot more deer in Kentucky like this. So
I know we've been monitoring Facebook, and it's been amazing that the big deer have dropped this past weekend, and you know, and beginning the gun season, even during bow season. There's a lot of quality deer that are being harvested in Kentucky. That's why it is the go-to state for all the out-of-towners. They want to come here.
right.
So you got a dandy of an animal, and amazing story. Is anybody going to use your footage? Will the folks be able to see your footage on a show somewhere?
We will. We're trying to figure out what we want to do with it, but at some point we're going to air it, and we want to tell, you know, a good story with conservation and land management and kind of what we've done here, not just kind of your typical video. So we're not sure exactly what we're going to do, but it'll be out probably this winter or spring sometime.
Well, folks, look forward to that. Make sure you check it out. Quality animal, and we're going to go to break, and before we do, we're going to go to this week's segment of In the Field. We've got Ed Morris here from Lights Out Outdoors TV going to demonstrate the proper way to make a mock scrape.
Well, the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you descent, just like you're going hunting.
Right.
The mock scrape's got to be totally scent free. So always spray down, use whatever brand you want, but make sure you spray down good and you're totally scent free. You want to find a good overhanging limb, something like this that they can rub on. I mean, just clean it as clean as you can get it. I usually chop it pretty good.
Out hunting, you've seen scrapes, and a lot of people hunt scrape lines and rub lines, so you know basically what it's supposed to look like. If you don't, if you're just now starting to hunt, make sure it's completely cleared out, just like it's just straight mud.
Then what we'll do is we'll take the dripper, like so. The way this works is it won't drip during the night. When the sun hits the canister, it heats it up, causes it to expand, and it'll drip during the day. The idea is you're trying to get the buck to come during the daylight hours.
And you can buy these drippers anywhere. I think Walmart sells them, your Cabela's, Bass Pros, Academy Sporting Goods. Local sporting shops will sell them. It's a pretty typical dripper.
Don't fill them more than halfway. You only want to fill them about halfway. Try to find you a place in here, and we'll just go up like so. Try to get it back in here where it's right over the, and then what I do is I'll go back here a little bit and tie it off to where when you come in, you don't necessarily have to get right in there on it.
And the good thing about a scrape this size is if there's a dominant buck in your area, he's going to make this scrape bigger because he's going to take this over as his scrape. He's thinking I'm small to medium-sized buck is making this, so if it's a really big buck in your area, he's going to make this bigger, take it over for himself, trying to find the hottest doe to come to it.
And one of the things that I'll do with mine is I'll use a scrape starter. Again, I use the Black Widow Dominator. What you want to do is you want, especially early season, you don't want to put out doe in heat and estrus because it's too early and it'll actually spook the buck. So all you want to use early season is just use the dominant buck where he's coming to the point and hitting it. So just take it and work it in pretty good. You just take it and rub it on all the limbs, and that'll get them started.
Now, Ed, how often should you reapply this?
Typically, a 4-ounce canister that you're going to fill half full will last you about 2 weeks.
Okay. Now, how often should you redo this?
Every time you come back.
Okay.
You only want to come here when you have to.
Right.
So you don't want to get your scent in the area. Again, it's important, plastic gloves, descent, just like you're going hunting. So, and that's pretty much it, Tom.
Okay.
Other than hanging the camera, we're pretty much ready to go.
Ed, thanks for showing us the proper way of making this happen for us, and hopefully they'll produce a nice buck here. And folks, thanks for watching this segment of In the Field. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain. And so far in our show, we've had a great mixture. We've had Dennis Moore, just your typical out there, avid outdoorsman. We've had Austin Musselman, which is with the Sportsman's Alliance. Also on the cover of North American Whitetail that killed a free-range monster 267-inch buck. And now we have some members of KYSA. Before we get to them, I want to thank our sponsor, Knob Creek Gun Range. Folks, if you need anything gun-related, tactical, shooting range, I know gun season's just about over in some parts of the state. This is the last weekend for it, but you still have late muzzleloader coming up. There's still a lot of guys that like to target shoot and that type of thing. Make sure you go see Knob Creek Gun Range. They got everything you can imagine: scopes, guns, tactical equipment, ammo. I mean, anything you can imagine, they have it there. They also have their machine gun shoot twice a year, so it's really fun to go out and see that. So make sure you go see our great sponsor, Knob Creek Gun Range. Now we have Clint Sturgill and Bryce Wallace with us tonight from KYSA. How you doing, guys?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. Now tell us what KYSA stands for.
It's called the Kentucky Sportsman's Association.
Okay. Now, how long have y'all been doing this?
3 years.
Okay. Now, I know you, Clint, from high school.
Yes,
went to
sir.
high school together. And Bryce, I understand you work at Cabela's.
Yep, sure do. Archery tech and Cabela's, and I work on all the bows, set people up,
Okay,
get them ready to go
wonderful.
hunting.
So, folks, if you need your bow taken care of, make sure you go see Bryce over at Cabela's. We've had Cabela's on a couple weeks ago. We had Tony French on, wonderful lady. Think the world of her. So make sure you go see these guys over at Cabela's and support them. KYSA, what do you all do?
We are an amateur hunting group.
Okay.
Our goal is to get people involved in outdoors, not just youth. We do a lot for the youth, but we do disabled and first-time hunters, and getting people outdoors and get them to understand, outside and why we have the deer seasons and everything else. Because a lot of people don't really know exactly why we have to go hunt deer.
Right. They don't know that if we don't hunt deer, the overpopulation, the deer will starve, they'll be malnutrition, you'll see more car wrecks because they're trying to get to other parts of the farms that have the food source they don't have on theirs. It causes collisions, causes deaths. So, and anybody that's ever drove down Highway 71 coming out of Cincinnati to Louisville know that it's a very dangerous spot for deer crossing through there. So that's why we do have these deer seasons. We do have them. Some people think it's inhumane. It's really the humane thing to do. We can't let them get overpopulated. That's what the Fish and Wildlife Department's done such a great job on, is maintaining our deer herd population. And they've done it better than probably any state in the country. Now, when you say amateur hunting team, do you have a TV show, or do you have a web show, or are you just out to inform people that want to hunt?
We have a YouTube of how-to videos that we're doing short videos on that.
Okay.
Our goal is to actually come out with a hunting show.
Okay.
But right now we got to do the building blocks up. We love showing reaction to people's kids' first kills, just their reaction, and share that with the whole world.
That's right. People don't realize that kids really get a big kick. As you can see here, this is, I believe, is your website here.
It's my website.
It's a very nice website, folks, and they do a lot of stuff around the community. I know y'all help Cabela's out some, and y'all help Fish and Wildlife out some. Y'all do some youth hunts. Are you part of did y'all help out on the disabled hunt at Birmingham?
I did not this year. I used to be the president of the Burnham chapter and help with that for 4 years. And then I stepped away from it.
That's a great program.
It is a great program.
And I know Ron Forrest is still with that program. I know
Yes.
Ron's really big with that, but it's a wonderful program. It's a disabled hunt that they've teamed up with Birmingham Forest every year to take the disabled out, and usually have 20, 30, 40 hunters, disabled hunters. They go out there and try to harvest a nice deer on Birmingham Forest property. So, you know, Birmingham's really opened their arms up for this program over the last several years, and I was a part of it for a while. It's a wonderful program. It's what we all stand for as hunters, to get everybody out there in the outdoors. Now, what kind of season are y'all having so far?
Well, I'm having a great season. I killed a buck opening weekend. My son actually arrowed a buck that weekend too, but unfortunately we didn't find his. I arrowed a doe. Then my son got a buck there in muzzleloader, really nice, 9-point. And then my daughter was actually able to harvest hers this last opening gun season last weekend, and harvested a nice 4.5-year-old 8-point.
Now that was her first buck.
That was
right?
her first buck.
Now, as you can see the picture here, I mean, I bet she's still smiling ear to ear over this.
Oh yes,
Definitely.
yes. It's when she shot it, it was better than me shooting it. I mean, it was really great. That experience, and that's what we want to share, is the experience that they have during that time, and how close. Me and my son, he's been going since he's 4 years old, and he's almost a better hunter than I am now.
Right.
But getting my daughter now, it's almost like reliving it again.
Yeah, it is.
And it's, you know, I love it.
There's a picture of his nice muzzleloader
Yes.
kill. That's a really nice quality buck. Looks like a pretty old buck too.
Yes, I was thinking 3.5, really heavy deer.
And that's what makes hunting worthwhile, is getting out there. And that's why, you know, Lights Out Outdoors really supports KYSA, because, you know, there's a lot of shows on TV and everybody's kind of cutthroat here, cutthroat there. There's enough meat on the bone for everybody. If everybody's doing the right thing, everybody should be getting along, and everybody should be supporting and helping each other.
We have a Facebook page where you can download your photos and ask questions, and we will answer. And it's a very great page.
Yeah, it's a very interactive page. Y'all post a lot on there. Always checking your page out to see what y'all are killing and whose pictures you're uploading on there. As you can see, they have a lot of wonderful sponsors. We do have some mutual sponsors there with Black Eagle Arrows, and you know, so it's really a really good thing y'all are doing. And folks, make sure you check out their YouTube stuff. They got some really nice YouTube stuff. Now, you've got how many people are on y'all staff?
There is 15 people as of right now. There's 4 owners, and then I think there's 7 or 8 pro staff, and then the rest is field staff.
Wonderful. And, you know, everybody seems to be on your team having a really good season so far.
I've had a phenomenal season
He's had a
myself.
phenomenal season.
From turkey season now to deer. I mean, I've harvested a great buck, as we'll see a little later. It's just, I've been blessed with a great season so far.
And that's wonderful. And y'all are you hunting private land, WMAs?
Private land, family farms, and some friends have some farms that we
Sure.
get on every now and then, and yeah, I've just been blessed with great spots, really.
Okay, well, folks, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk some more with Clint and Bryce, and we'll show you a little bit of footage of Bryce's real nice buck kill this year, so stay tuned. Hey folks, welcome back to Wild Kentuckiana Live. I'm your host, Tom Chamberlain, and we have Clint Sturgill and Bryce Wallace with us with KYSA. As we were talking before we went to break, KYSA is a information group, amateur sports team. You film all your hunts, and you just try to get the general public involved in hunting and youth hunts and disabled hunts. And now y'all have done some Wounded Warrior stuff too, haven't you?
Yes. Yes.
Now, did y'all do any Wounded Warrior hunts this year?
Not this year, no.
But I know in the past y'all have, and y'all are based out of, where y'all based out of?
Out of Mount Washington.
Out of Bullitt County. And like I said, folks, there's several outdoor teams in Kentucky, and they seem to be growing more and more every year. And as we hit our stumbling blocks through Lights Out Outdoors TV, KYSA has had to do the same thing, and you just gotta get out there to be persistent and just really bring good content, and they're really bringing good content to it. So check out their YouTube videos. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, we do.
Is it KYSA?
Yes.
So make sure you go check out KYSA YouTube. Check out what they're doing on there. Follow them on Facebook. Check their website. They do a lot of posting on different pictures and different tips. And this sport is big enough for everybody, so it's a fun sport. It's a necessity sport, you know. So what does KYSA have coming up here shortly?
We actually have a bear hunt coming up in December.
Okay.
Eastern Kentucky. It's going to be a bear camp. A bunch of us going to go down and try to harvest a bear.
Now, what part of Eastern Kentucky are you going to?
I'm not really 100% sure. This is put on through Kenneth Harris, one of our members. He's actually got all the hookups and connections down there. I know I'm excited about going, but I haven't really done 100% checking into exactly what. I know we got a place to go. And
Now, y'all going rifle season, or is it bow season when y'all going?
I believe it's muzzleloader.
A muzzleloader, okay, gotcha.
Muzzleloader.
Now, Kentucky is really getting very popular with the bears. You know, they have the 10 rule limit where, you know, 10 archery, 10
You got to call in every day.
You call in every morning,
Yep.
and you see how many bears have been harvested, and
Yep.
they tell you, you know, you're good to go or season's over with. And Fish and Wildlife is doing a phenomenal job on managing our bears and getting our numbers really good or on what we have. And the biologists work nonstop to make sure we're having quality bear. And it won't be long, and we'll have bear in this state like Maine does,
Oh,
or you know, like even Tennessee's got a ton of bear.
Oh, yes.
And you get in the Smoky Mountains area, it's full
Oh,
of them.
yeah, full.
So, Bryce, let's talk a little bit about your hunt you had coming up this year. It was early bow season?
It was early bow season, September 13th. I've had this deer, I call him Tex. He looks a lot like a Texas deer. He's got a real small body, but a really big rack. And I've been seeing this deer. I watched him grow from the little nubs all the way out to this real nice wide 10-point. And I mean, I put trail cams out everywhere to try to monitor where he's coming in. Had him patterned the entire time. I mean, he was hitting this field every night. I mean, played the wind right. I knew he was coming in on a certain wind. Make sure I wouldn't go in there on a bad one to blow him out. And the cards just played right. I mean, he just came out perfect.
And I can't preach enough about the wind. The wind is so important.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen so many people not get shots of quality deer because of that. Now he's coming in here. Looks like an old logging road you might be hunting here.
Yep, old logging road. We had it logged probably 2 years ago. He's quartering away real hard, give me a hard shot, but when I pulled back, I was rock steady, and I put it right in that back rib, and it went right through his lungs. He didn't go 30 yards.
Now, how far of a shot was that?
That was about a 23-yard shot.
And that's
Yep.
impressive. And, you know, was it a 3.5-year-old deer, you thinking?
Yeah, about a 3.5-year-old deer. He wasn't the biggest body deer, or the oldest deer by all means, but, I mean, he had a really nice rack. Biggest rack on the property. I do try to manage my farm for age most of the time over rack, but this is my biggest deer to date. So, I mean, I can't pass up an opportunity
No,
like that.
absolutely not.
Great
You
deer.
killed a quality
Great
deer that anybody in their right mind would have taken.
Great
Yep.
deer.
And he did present you with a very, very tough shot. And that was a great shot you took there because, You know, the way that road kind of looked like it bent around, he was going to quarter totally away
Yep.
from you. You never would have got the
He
shot.
was acting really skittish when he came in, so I knew when I got the opportunity, I was going to take it. And I didn't want to wait because that was the deer I wanted, and I had to take it.
And that tells you, you know, hard work. We preach hard work, off-season hard work, and to harvest a deer during deer season, it takes work outside of the season.
Yep.
And, you know, people come in for gun season, don't put any effort into managing their deers. They get in a deer stand once or twice a year during gun season, and somehow those guys always kill monster
Studs.
deers.
Yeah.
And it really kind of aggravates me because of the work we put in, and I can't tell you how many years I've had tag soup. You know, had to eat my tag because I wasn't going to take a young deer or a small deer. But, you know, I'm really ready for gun season to be over with.
Yep.
I love it for as far as managing the deer herd. It's a necessity. I understand it and I support it, but I can't wait for it to be over with.
I've got my fingers crossed on some deer that I hope make it through these final weeks, so we'll see what happens.
And that's what I plan on doing this week here. I plan on going out, recharging all the batteries, putting new cards in, and see what survived the first 2 weekends. We got one more weekend left.
Yep.
And then we'll really know. And I've seen some of my bigger deer after gun season. And, you know, I hunted opening weekend, that Monday and Tuesday, I hunted pretty hard and didn't see a deer. And it kind of scares me because we were seeing some really, really quality deer before gun season. And we heard so many shots opening weekend that there can't be much ammo left in Bullitt County. I think they've shot it all up. And I'm hoping some of the good quality deer have made it through. Now, I did get to hunt, I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week, and seen a really nice shooter. Couldn't get a shot on him. Cameraman couldn't get on him quick enough. And as you know, when you're filming,
It's part of it.
if it's not on camera, it does not get killed. And I have passed up some really nice quality deer because the cameraman couldn't get on for one reason or the other.
Yep.
So, you know, it's one of those things that you just have to deal with when you're shooting footage for a TV show. And
That's right.
Yes,
I had a deer slip out of my hands because of the camera. Couldn't get back on him, and he was a real nice old 8, but just couldn't get on him fast enough to get the camera rolling. So that part happens, though. That's
it does, and more people are starting to do a lot of self-filming, and I really encourage that, folks, because it really adds a whole new element to hunting.
Which
And
all mine was self-filmed.
I've not
as well.
been in the stand in the last 5 or 6 years without a camera. So, guys, I really want to thank you for coming out. This is going to be the end of our episode. Guys, thanks for watching Wild Kentuckiana Live. We'll see you next week.